قل هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون إنما يتذكر أولو الألباب.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Walid Vasyuni, and I would like to welcome you in a new episode of your program, The Life of the Muslim Scholars. And I would like to welcome my guests, Mamadou and Muhammad. This episode is very special because talk about a very special, maybe you hear me a lot of saying it's very special. Everyone is very special. But this one, because it's different than any episode we gave before, it's about a great female scholars and leader. So this time we'll explore the life of one of our female scholars, and there's so many female scholars and leaders in our history that's really worth studying. And this woman, maybe she's not very famous, but definitely she was famous during her lifetime. She's a firm, prudent, rahimahullah ta'ala. Her name is Zumurrud Khatun, the daughter of Jawli. She was known as Safwatul Mulk, the cream of royalty, if I translate that, the cream of royalty. Why not? You know, this woman, her father was a king. Her half-brother was a king. Her uncle was a king. Her husband was a king. Two of her sons were king. Her grandson was a king. I mean, she's really come from, she's the cream of royalty. She really deserved that. Her uncle was a king, I said even. I'm not sure I said her uncle or not. But anyway, you can imagine she descends from a very prestige family. At that time, she was born, rahimahullah ta'ala, in 1074. So in the 11th century, 470 Hijri, and 1074 CE. And she died 1161. So she about 90 years old, almost when she died, rahimahullah ta'ala. She was born and raised in Damascus and around that area. Does that date remind you of anything special? You know what happened in the Muslim world in that time? In the beginning of the 11th century? Already when she was born, the Muslim Sham area and Jerusalem was occupied by the Crusaders.
Yeah.
Very good. The Crusaders. They're already 40 years there. They already occupied Jerusalem for the last 40 years. So she grew up seeing the Muslims' land occupied, taken by the Crusaders, and with all the terrible thing that took place during the Crusader time. And it is a very, very bad time in our history, actually, in the Muslims' ummah. But anyway, she grew up in that environment, and not only that the land is occupied and the Crusader divided the region of Sham, which is include today Palestine, Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, okay? They didn't divide them into only small kingdoms or small counties. They did that, and they occupied the most important counties, and they control all the highways, put taxes on the farmers. You can't cross from one city to another without paying tax to them. Every time they steal the goods from the farmers, kill people, terrify the cities and the villages. With all this, you will find the Muslim in this region divided. You will find a kingdom in Damascus. You'll find a kingdom in Aleppo, a kingdom in Hama, and all divided and all fight one another. So at that time, there is a movement started by Imad ad-Din Zinki, who managed to unify Aleppo and Hama and Hims together under his kingdom. And he was asking everyone in the area to join him and to make him the leader who can lead the fight against the Crusader, but never happened. Anyway, she grew up with her father. She memorized the Quran when she was very early in age, before she reached the age of puberty. Also studied hadith, and she also studied the fiqh of Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. At that time, because those people originally, Kurds, came from Iraq, and Iraq dominated by Abu Hanifa's madhab and students. So when they came to Asham, they basically became very popular in this area, even though it is mainly dominated by what? Shafi'is, okay? Yeah. And some Hanbalis came into that area because Imam Ahmad, opinions, and became very popular in Sham at one point. But a lot of Hanafis moved there when the Abbasis Khilafah time, and this is basically when the Abbasi dynasty became weak. Anyway, so she was really good at the Hanafi's fiqh, and she studied it. She studied hadith, she took ijazas in hadith, and she was very intelligent, known of her beauty, smart, wise, speaks very well. So a woman with this category or these qualities, a character trait, obviously she will be everybody interested in marrying her. And her father gave her to one who's really worth marrying her, a great king by the name of King Buri. And this King Buri, which is, it means the wolf, okay? The son of Taghaktin, the falcon warrior. They have an interesting name. So this king was very nice man. He's the king of Damascus, and he really took care of his wife. And the king, as you can imagine, involved a lot of wars, with the Crusaders. And he descended from a family that declared jihad against the Crusader since day one, 35 years ago. They fought the Batinis and the Crusaders. So he's really descended from a very noble family, well respected in that area. Her husband, because he was so involved outside, she started focusing on what she can do inside. So she started building schools, building awqaf, listening to people's complaint, meeting the public, supporting a lot of student of knowledge at that time and shuyukh at that time, rahimahullah ta'ala. So here you see that this woman loved by the people of Damascus because she was really dedicated her life to help the public. Anyway, things didn't last for long because her husband died. And when her husband died, he left behind him 3 sons, Ismail and Muhammad and Mahmud. Ismail was a very evil man. He's drunk, womanizer, have nothing in his life, goal in his life but to drink and to party, and he became the king after his father. And one of the first things he did, because his brother Muhammad challenged him, he locked him up in a room until his brother died. He doesn't want to kill him, to be murder him, so he locked him up until death, and in a room in the palace. So there's nobody, because Mahmud was a little bit mentally challenged. He was not a person who really can be a threat. But the mother, who's very active with the public, she saw that this man changed everything she did with the public. He raised the tax. He started taking wealth and money from people, land from people, very aggressive, closed the door, don't meet anyone. He refused for his mother to do any public work or social work anymore. Stayed home and he locked her in. Not only that, it reached to the level that he started sending messages to the Crusaders telling them, what would I get if I gave you Damascus? That's something even the Crusaders never dreamt of, that they would be able to take over Damascus. It's a very protected place. And he said, would you let me be a king, but you give me more money? When reached that level, one of the lieutenant and generals came to her. He knows her because he served under her husband. And he said, that cannot be accepted. What should we do? We need your help. She said, I will take care of that. She went in the night, she took 2 of her guards. she basically neutralized the guards outside, walked into his bedroom, whatever he was doing with her soldiers, and ordered the soldier to strike her own son, and they killed him in his bed. He was bleeding and holding her dress, saying Zinhar, which it means in their language, mercy, mercy, mother. And she said, finished him. And they finished him. When the morning comes, she opened the palace, the doors, and everybody in the city was surprised. This door's never open. The gates are open. So everybody came, and she brought his corpse and she threw it in front of everyone. And she called the judge and said, I submit myself to the court for killing the king, Ismail. And they asked her, why did you kill him? She said, I killed him qawad bi ibni, because he killed my son. And in Islam, because he killed someone, her son, and she's the inheritor of the blood, she has the right to do that. She's faqih. Yes. And they let her go. And they appointed her son Mahmud, who was not, I said, very intelligent, so strong, so she became the real king. That was the golden era of her time. She helped the people, she brought back justice, she brought back the beautiful city of Damascus, flourished again. Knowledge, teaching, purity, righteousness, and with all this she knows there is something missing, which is the outside, the threat from outside. She couldn't deal with it. So this idea came to marry Imad ad-Din Zinki. And by marrying him, he will be the father-in-law of the king of Damascus, so kind of join the two kingdoms together. When she did that, there's a lot of issues between the two areas. So she went to his place, married him, but guess what? Because this king is so weak, some of his advisors who used to work with Ismail before, and they lost all the power, they found this in a golden opportunity. They convinced him that she betrayed us. So when she went to Imad ad-Din, they closed the door and they said, we're not going to join hands. Imad ad-Din Zinki didn't want to marry this old woman for anything but to join the two kingdoms. Yes. So he got angry, upset, put her in one of the castles. For 8 years she locked up in Aleppo, doing nothing until he died, and she decided to leave. She can't stay like that. She went to Damascus. They didn't even let her in. Nobody supported her. The people in power basically hid that information from her son, and they kicked her out. She traveled to Baghdad trying to talk to the Khalifa, to the Abbasis. They don't care. Then she decided to go to Mecca. But that's a time for having a break, and I'll tell you what happened to her in Mecca, inshallah, when we come back from the break. So stay tuned. Welcome back to your program, The Life of the Muslim Scholars. We were talking earlier about Zumurrud Jawli, the cream of royalty, a daughter of a king, a wife of a king, a mother of two kings, a grandmother of a king, a sister of a king, and a nephew of a king. She is a niece of a king, actually. Her uncle was a king, so she's a really woman. Was brought up in a family known of royalty, wealth, power, but she's also well known of her piety, dedication for knowledge, learning. When she was the queen during her husband's time, she helped building schools. She took care of her people, until things changed when her sons took over the kingdom and ended up by killing him, as we said earlier, after he killed his brother. Then ended up marrying Imad ad-Din Zinki, tried to unify the two kingdoms together, but she was betrayed by some of the generals of her kingdom. They locked the doors in front of Imad al-Din Zinki, and Imad al-Din Zinki has no interest in marrying this woman for nothing but to join the two kingdoms together. She stayed in one of his palaces in Aleppo for 8 years, and when she became a widow, she decided to go back to Damascus. Door not open for her. Tried with Baghdad, no help. She said, let me go for Hajj and start over. She had only been left with her maid. She traveled all the way to Mecca, and she started learning, studying with the scholars in Mecca, attending. And that time, she was in her late 70s. She's old. And she stayed there. Soon she ran out of money. So she started working, and she used to bake things and sell it for the people who come for Hajj or Umrah in Mecca to provide for herself and for her maid. That's the cream of royalty. She started selling in the street of Mecca until she became so old, and she told her maid, I feel that my time is near. Let's move to Medina. You know why she moved to Medina? What do you think? Why would she want to die in Medina?
Prophet's mosque and
But is there anything special about dying in Medina? Yes. The Prophet ﷺ said, my intercession will be given to those who die in Medina. She knows that. So she moved to Medina, and a few months later she died. She was, they prayed in her in the Masjid Rasulullah ﷺ, and she was buried in al-Baqi'. And her maid, basically, after her death, she told everybody who this woman is. She is the queen of Damascus. And she showed them her seal and her ring. And people were surprised that this woman lived among them all this time. And in Mecca all these years, nobody recognized her. Thought she's just a woman, an old woman, tried to survive. And that's how her life ended, rahimahullahu ta'ala. You know, there is so much we can learn from her life. There is so many lessons, personally, I can see in her life. I'm not sure how many lessons that or anything that strike you, or you can reflect upon that is relate to us today.
I think there is an assumption nowadays that if perhaps I'm practicing and my wife is practicing, for example, then the children are automatically going to be righteous. And
very good. Say that again.
I think there's an assumption nowadays, for example, if I'm practicing and I have a wife and she's like religious as well, then the assumption is no matter what, our children are just going to be around the environment and they're going to be righteous when they grow up.
Very good. Very good. And that's not the case.
Yeah.
A lot of time, we don't pay attention to our children. You know, a lot of time we think we take it for granted. Because I have a good manners, I have a good principles in life, I'm religious, I'm a good, decent person, the father's a good, decent person. We think that our children will be like that. You don't know how many times I will see a beautiful family and their son is drug addict. An excellent family, well-established, stable family, and their son will be very wild, very bad. You know, many times we take things for granted, and don't ever do that. You know, you should invest. I'm not blaming her for what happened, for her sons, how he brought up, or how he became so corrupt like that. But maybe there is attention, and you see how your son is, not to spoil him.
Yeah.
You know, I had a father came to me telling me about his son is drug addict, and I said, you remember 10 years ago, I used to tell you, don't give your son too much money. Just every day, every 6 months, he wreck a car, and his father give him another car, another brand new car. You know, when you spoil your kids, oh, he will be good under that assumption, not necessarily. Watch them, advise them, take care of them. Make sure that you plant seeds and good principles in their hearts. You have to invest in your children, inshallah, and make a lot of dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring them righteous, and no guarantee. But at least you do your role.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah, actually, what we can see from her life is that she worked for the public from the beginning of her life. Like, she started learning, and she seek knowledge, and she got ijazahs and everything. This was something really good about her. She took revenge for her son, and then she tried to get married to unite people. But
No. There's too many things now. Now, just one thing at a time. So you say that she seeking knowledge, and so many times when people are very rich or from very high status families,
Yeah, turning
they don't
point.
care for knowledge.
Yeah.
They don't care for education. You know, I rely on my father's wealth. You know, I work for my father. Like one kid that day I was saying, why didn't you go to college? He said, my father has so much money. Why do I go to college for? What would they need to learn for? It's not about religious education. Everybody will have a religious education. But the concept of learning, of having good education, going to school, no matter how rich your family are, you still need to go to school. You still need, because going to school, it helps you to mature, to understand, to open your mind, to know how to be smart. And that's what studying will provide, give you experience in life that you would never gain outside studying.
Yes.
So that's very good lessons. That's very good point.
Yeah, of
What
course,
else?
to make it like a kind of a meaningful life. It's not like I'm rich and I've got money and everything, so I'm living a luxurious life. So what would I learn? So this kind of, she got her life to be meaningful.
Very
by,
good.
By learning.
Make a difference in other people's life by helping, building school, building awqaf, endowment, all that she did, rahimahullah ta'ala. One thing I want to say, that we always need to remember that things doesn't stay the same way. وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. Allah said in the Quran, we exchange days. Some day you might be rich, another day you'll be poor. Maybe you come from a very rich family and you end up not rich. Maybe you were very poor, like the previous scholars. He started his life very poor, eating the leaf of the basically trees sometimes. And he ended up very rich in the end of his life. So you didn't know how lives will go. So make sure that you train yourself and you're ready to adjust to whatever situation that you are going to be in. And that's another lessons we should learn. I give you example for that, for the change that happened in life. Sometimes maybe you have a degree or a type of job that you do, and this job, no need for it anymore. Like I live in Houston, all of a sudden, if you have, you know, a degree in petroleum engineering, there is no work for you in Houston. You know, you can stay for 2 years, you can't get a job. Nobody needs petroleum engineering anymore. You know, people not interested. And I know people went to school, start studying something else, making another degree, learning some new skills, and they basically go and seek, you know, new jobs. You have to be ready to adjust to the change that happened in life. And that's a very important lesson we can learn. She adjusted to the new life. She didn't cry over her old days. You know, oh, I used to be this, and cry over your bad luck. You can't do that. A lot of people stuck. I used to be married to a very nice guy. Khalas, he's gone, habibti. You need to, you know, you need to move on and to adjust to the new life. You know, I used to have this, I used to that. You can't do that. You know, I used to get this and to get that. I had proposal just to the new situation that you're in. You can't just cry over the past. And that's very important lessons in life. I think one of the lessons, you have to be firm, even with the people who are so close to you. You know, she had to be in a position that she had to defend the whole entire country. Now he's betraying the country by reaching out to the Crusader to invite them to take over Damascus. She had to be very firm, and even to the level that she killed him. We're not talking about that today. But today, you know what? You have to be firm. Tell your son no. Tell your daughter no, that's not going to happen. Tell your husband, to your wife, that's not right. This is not correct. That's not fair. We're not going to do that. That's wrong. That's harming someone else. You know, we have to be firm when it comes to justice, when it comes to what's right. We don't compromise. And we have to stand strong when it comes to the principle that we believe in. And that's a very good lessons that we learn from her life. What else?
I think another one was near the end of her life, she worked, and I thought to myself, there's no shame in working.
Very good. There's no shame in working.
And if you have to...
You know what's the shame? It's to live off people's donations.
Exactly. And I feel like, you know, she could have easily remembered who she was. She remembers who she is and where she comes from. But when push comes to shove, you might have a degree, a PhD, but at the moment you can't find work. And in order to maintain your survival and your family's survival, there's no shame in doing a job a bit less.
Excellent. Very good. Anything else?
No, no, I'm afraid.
Okay. One of the things that I want to cite, dignity. Be dignified. You know, work so you protect your dignity.
Yeah.
Dignity has nothing to do with your title. Dignity has nothing to do with wealth. Dignity has nothing to do with money. You can be dignified even if you don't have anything in your pocket. But you keep your dignity. And she kept her dignity when she was rich and when she was poor. She was a dignified woman. And we can keep our dignity as Muslims, as individual, as family, no matter what. If it's in a time of ease in Islam or a time of hardship. I keep my dignity as a Muslim. If I'm rich or I'm poor, young or old, I keep my dignity. This is something we should learn how to be dignified people. You don't bend, you know, stay tall. Martin Luther King used to say, nobody can ride your back until you bend your back. So when you stand up tall, people respect you.
Yeah.
And she deserved the respect. And I have so much respect for her every time I read her life story. Also, one of the lessons we can end with too quickly. Number one, when she became the queen, she just asked, how can I help? What can I do? That's a very good attitude. You know what? Always ask, how can I help? What can I do? I'm in this position, how can I help the public? How can I contribute to the society? Maybe another lessons we can end with, marry for the right reason. You know, marriage is about finding the one. I always say, when you marry someone because, not just because you can live with, you marry someone because you can live without. That's a big difference between the two attitudes. You love, this is a love, it's a sharing your life with. So make sure that you choose the person for the right reason. I'm not saying that's a wrong reason she did, but definitely the man was not interested in her as a person. You know, that's what it seems to be. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all of us.
Ameen.
But that was great to know about this great woman. And alhamdulillah, thank you very much for listening into this episode. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you,
I
Shaykhana.
would like to thank all the team here on Huda TV. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Looking forward to see you in the next episode, inshallah.
قل هل يستوي الذين يعلمون